to that. Um, I also had a theory ever since Koji confirmed the identity of the Thorn Soul bulb, and I have a feeling that he's pretty much seen something like that, and that maybe the Shinjus may have existed before then, but the Shinjus that were created that Code probably didn't notice were being, you know, developing that were developing. It probably could have been some sort of a proto Shinju where it had some form of sentience and intelligence, but just wasn't as, you know, intelligent as the Shinjus we're currently seeing. It probably may have some powers and abilities that may have given Kashin Koji a hard time, but it just wasn't enough you know, for Koji to not be able to kill it. And that
Yeah,
maybe at
so
some given point there may have been like a Thorn Soul bulb, and he was able to confirm it because of an encounter with some sort of Shinju of with a Shinju of some sort. Yeah.
so I have some ideas for how that could work, but before I tell you
Yeah.
mine, under that hypothetical, how do you think, more specifically, how do you think the Thorazl bulbs actually were formed? Like, pretty as specific as you can get.
How were the Thorn Soul bulbs form?
Yeah. So, like, with this hypothetical that, the 10 pills hasn't disappeared yet, and, no Jura and all them. So, what's the Koji hypothetically fought?
I would say it might have been some form of Clawgrime-esque intelligent, more like not like a superior Clawgrime, but something way better than a Clawgrime, but it was almost
You cut out for me. I
human
don't
in a
know.
way.
Okay, say that again. You cut
Uh-oh.
out for me. Just the last part.
Okay.
It sounded like you were saying like almost human, but not quite. But I'm not sure if that's what you were saying.
I was saying that it probably could have been some form of something way stronger than a superior Clawgrime of that sorts.
Mhm.
Maybe maybe it must have had two Renegons, and it still looked like a Clawgrime, except this time it was able to speak, but it didn't have full sentience or full awareness of what it was doing.
Okay,
And
so
that
you're on
maybe
a
when it
very
died,
similar train of
I
thought
mean,
to what I was gonna
yeah,
say. Like
yeah,
the starting point was gonna be these evolved Cloudgrind. It's a thing Boruto and Koji knew was happening. They pointed out
mhm,
being a problem, so that I think that should be relevant. From
yeah,
there, you have a couple of options. One option is basically what you're saying. You just have one that evolves even more. It's not the same as Hidari. It's more just like the clock grind evolves into a new thing. And in that case, then you gotta ask, okay, well, the Thorn Soul part is kind of tricky. Would it just have a
yeah.
clock
The
grind
Thorn,
Thorn Soul? Why does Koji know that giving it back to Sasuke is gonna do anything? So
yeah,
assuming Koji just had straight up had experience with the whole thing, I feel like we need to adjust it slightly. In that case, I think that this evolved Clawgrime, whether it turns into it just basically what the Ten Tails may have done, turns into a tree. It might just turn into a divine tree on its own. And then it does whatever it does, or it's just an evolved Clawgrime. Either way, the point is, I'm thinking if we're going to go with this hypothetical, an evolved Clawgrime acquires chakra from a tree person. Let's just say Sasuke is a hypothetical for now. And then it makes a pseudo Hidari. Basically, Hidari, maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe it's identical. Maybe Boruto's literally seen this freaking Hidari like creature before. Who knows? But probably not. But either way, it makes a similar thing. Koji defeats it. He sees the Thorn Soul's like, huh, let me just stab Soegi with it. And then Soegi comes back to normal or whatever. Something like that could definitely work. He's just been through it, but rather than the main body of the Ten Tails, it was just a regular Clawgrime that evolved very similarly. In this case, they'd
yeah,
probably be weaker because it's not the main body. The main body's probably stronger, I would hope. So
yeah,
already, but
yeah.
um
My God.
that being said, though, Immortal, I did want because obviously don't mention sneak peek spoilers, but this had nothing to do with the spoiler itself. It was you just said it during our spoiler talk. I wanted you to tell
Oh,
Oodie about your theory about the Kashin Koji Thorn Soul stuff.
okay.
Like,
Okay.
Ooh, interesting. Okay,
start from the very beginning, though.
let's hear it.
Like, the way you started the theory.
Okay. So I was talking about how in chapter 12, Kashin Koji was able to identify the object that Boruto held in his hand, which is the Thorn Soul bulb.
Oh, that's a good point.
And
oh
I
my
was
God,
kind of
Kashin Koji
questioning.
knows about that. Then
I was kind of
I didn't think about
yeah,
that. The fact that
and
he's
I was kind of
talking about
questioning.
it, that means he has knowledge on. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good. That's a good catch.
because when when
Go ahead.
Boruto had it, Kashin Koji was able to immediately identify it, and I was just stuck, like scratching my head, like, how does he know about it? Because
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
my theory
Now you
was
bring it up.
this. Yeah, we'll go.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. What? I'm curious what your theory is.
Okay, so my theory was this: the main reason why Kashin Koji would know about the Thorn Soul bulb is because maybe he's faced a Shinju, just not the same as the ones we're currently seeing here in Boruto to Blue Vortex. That maybe Code wasn't aware of the development of the claw grimes and how they're gaining sentience. Which could
you
explain
mentioned
why
something
they.
before that too, though.
Oh yeah.
Earlier. Well, yeah. So, like, you mentioned that what if Koji has seen a Thorn Soul before,
Bro,
which I
that's
personally thought was
crazy.
the most interesting part of the theory.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
yeah. Because okay.
I know.
I mean, like,
recorded
what if
it,
he
yeah.
has? I mean, Oodie, do you think he has, or do you think that's just like? Before we explain the reasoning behind it, do you think, are you on board? Like, yeah, maybe he has seen it, or are you kind of like skeptical? Like, there's no way he's
Bro,
seen
that's freaking an awesome theory, dude. Like that hypes me up a lot. Like just the idea,
Yeah.
the possibility that he
Because-
has seen it, because he seemingly has knowledge on it, considering he's talking about it. I mean, it'd be weird if he was talking about something that he didn't have knowledge on, but how would he have knowledge on it? One way could be that he's seen it, which is like an awesome theory. I love the idea. But Immortal, did you have like more to elaborate on
I mean,
that?
honestly, like, Immortal's the first person I heard it from. I hadn't really heard anyone talking about it.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I feel like it almost feels like a no-brainer, but I guess it was just nobody thought about it.
I think it is
But
like
I like
hidden
the
in
idea,
plain
personally.
sight, though. Like a lot of things are, honestly. Like Obito is arguably being a no-brainer from being the Masked Man, but like you could say it's hidden in plain sight. Maybe not that necessarily, but I feel like there's a lot of things that are just hidden in plain sight. I feel like this is one of those that's just the most obvious example. But like it's just about putting the dots together. You have two and you have two, but you don't do 2 + 2 until someone else does it for you. In this case, thank you, Immortal, for doing that. This is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Immortal. Please
Yeah, like, it
elaborate
almost
more.
feels like if we reread chapter 12, we might just see it, like, it might just be so obvious rereading it, but the first time through, it's just like you wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah.
Because you also have to take into account the events that happened right after Sasuke became a tree, and over time, as he was stuck in the tree, that maybe his chakra was being used to create his Shinju incarnation that isn't exactly him, but an entirely different entity that's trying to, find his own identity since he's using Sasuke's chakra. Now, once again, we don't know what that chakra is being used for. Maybe the 10 tails isn't really gone. That Jorah maybe is just like a small 50% around that range of the juvenile 10 tails becoming human. So the 10 tails could probably still be alive. That maybe the people who are trapped within the tree, since their chakra is being used, and the Shinjus are pretty much using that chakra. Maybe when they die and they produce a soul thorn, that chakra, including the 10 tails chakra, is just merged within the thorn soul, and that whoever uses it for whatever purpose, maybe to eat it to evolve themselves, or maybe to free the person who is trapped within the god tree, I don't know, could probably end up regaining their powers and abilities, except they'll end up having some form of 10 tails amp from it. But that's just a theory. That's just my headcanon, my theory. But going back to the Kashin Koji theory I had, part of the theory was that while Code may had the claw grimes under his reign, uh, he was unaware of the development process that was taking place within the claw grimes, and that they were developing sentience. Now, I don't know whether or not if Kashin Koji was in some other village or not, because here's the thing: since the soul thorns can in fact hypothetically be used to save someone, since Boruto did tell Kawaki that he needs the thorn soul to save Sasuke and to get him out of the tree, that maybe during that situation there probably could have been some form of proto Shinji, or maybe some sort of evolved claw grime that had some form of sentience and maybe some form of intelligence, that when the claw grime ended up absorbing the person, it wasn't a full sentient Shinju. However, it was smarter than the claw grimes that we've seen thus far, including the superior ones. Now, it probably could have proven a challenge to Kashin Koji, and that Kashin Koji was able to deal with it and kill it, but the Thorn Soul that was produced was probably not really a full, complete Thorn Soul. Maybe like a entirely different Thorn Soul, because there could be a chance that Jorah's, Matsuri, Bug's Thorn Souls could be a lot different from Hidari's, or maybe they all could be the same. Who knows? But maybe he's freed a person who initially got absorbed by a claw grime within the God Tree, and like I said, probably could form some form of half proto Shinju of some sorts, because during that time the development process for the claw grimes wasn't all the way there until 2 years later, that we start to see the Shinjus at what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and so I'll kind of reiterate a little bit what I said earlier while Oodie was gone too. So because obviously this is just like a hypothetical, right? Like the hypothetical that Kashin Koji has seen a Thorn Soul bulb before. But under the hypothetical, the theory that he's seen one before, the way I think it would probably go is, first of all, it's not going to be like Sasuke. Because assuming Koji has seen a Thorn Soul, like this theory, and he's freed someone using the Thorn Soul, like he told Boruto he can do to Sasuke. He obviously didn't free Sasuke, so we can kind of rule that one out. It would probably have to be some random bozo, let's just say freaking Baki of the Sand Village got turned into a tree, whatever. The point is, Koji could have done this process. He saw the Thorn Soul, like the theory says, and then he frees someone using the Thorn Soul. With that theory in mind, the way I would approach it is pretty much the same as Immortal, but I'm just going to use my wording. As we know, the claw grimes were evolving. Boruto and Koji were well aware of this. Not just the Ten Tails, but all of them. And when they were evolving, like the one with the Rinnegan, it looked like the main body of the Ten Tails with the lines on its face that almost looks kind of wood-like. So, hypothetically, because they're evolving at different rates for whatever reason, one claw grime, or multiple for that matter, could have just evolved to whatever point it needed to do this. It could be a tree like the Ten Tails, something else, doesn't really matter. It evolved enough that it could steal chakra and become a Shinju, like Immortal said. It's probably going to be weaker because it's a random claw grind versus the actual main body, the Ten Tails. But the point is, it's the same thing, just not as strong.
Well, but
because it's not the main body. And then from there, you go through the same thing. So hypothetically, Koji sees the Thorn Soul at some point because he defeated the Shinju that was created from this random claw grind. That's basically the theory and the idea, which I think is good anyway, because I want any random claw grind to have value in the story, you know what I mean? Especially the evolved ones. So I like the idea that one of them has just done this already, and it was only a matter of time, hence the whole we're running out of time situation, only a matter of time before the main body does the exact same thing. And obviously, that's going to be a worse situation than the random bozo claw grime evolving to that extent. So I really like this theory, Immortal, to be honest. It just the fact that Koji has seen a Thorn Soul bulb is already like a really cool theory. Again, it's a hypothetical, but it's a cool theory. But I like extrapolating it onto the other random evolved claw grimes. just because
Yeah.
it just makes them part of the story. I feel like.
Well, I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
because
I
the
wouldn't.
superior claw grind we saw.
You go ahead.
I was gonna say the superior claw grind we saw was able to develop a Renegon and was able to speak like to Kawaki without the use of code, putting his claw marks on his face, and one of his eyes, like he did back in chapter, I would say 72 or 73, where he was able to remotely control the claw grime and speak through it. Because I don't
Yeah,
think
he was
anyone
doing
noticed that. Yeah. So now it's able to do it on its own and has a Renegon. And so right then and there, I think I did a short on the fact that, the claw grimes are developing sentience. And that's pretty much bad because it's basically like, what if a Tin Tails became, a human being and was able to think on its own and act on its own accordingly? So the fact that Code wasn't, and like, I know Code was pretty much unaware of this because I don't think he cares about the fact that the claw grimes are evolving. All he cared about was just creating an army so he can combat against Kawaki, Damon, and everyone else. He was kind
If
of a little bit
anything, he
butthurt at the
probably
time.
thought it was good that his claw grind were getting stronger. Like,
Yeah, but he just didn't realize, oh shit, they're actually becoming human. I didn't realize that.
yeah, and so
Like,
I guess we have to assume. No, this is actually another good question though, but I would have to assume that none of the claw grime attacked Code at this point, even the evolved
Mhm.
ones, unless the evolved ones, like this Koji hypothetical situation, it was just off in the distance, somewhere away from Code, which could is also possible. But do you think
Oh.
it's even possible that Code has also seen a Thorn Soul? Because at some point he just defeated a Shinju. Granted though, it's like I feel like if Code did this though, he would already know like, okay, this is becoming a problem.
Well, I feel like it's
do
way
you
more
think it's
likely that
possible
Code's done
just like the
it.
possibility of
Koji.
Koji, is it possible that Code did it?
I think it's way more likely that Code would have done it, assuming that Koji has possibly done it. It just makes more sense to me that Code would have
You
seen
would think
one.
so, but the problem is, like,
Oh.
wouldn't Code realize, like, a Code's not that stupid. Like, I feel like you'd realize, okay, if this Shinju Soegi or Shinju Baki is attacking me, maybe these are a problem.
Well,
Yeah.
Unless he thought he was
But-
just strong enough that it didn't matter.
maybe
What's
it's not necessarily
crazy
from
is
a
that
Shinju. He
we
could have just
also see-
seen it. He just doesn't know what it is. It's way more likely, in my opinion, that Code has
Yeah.
seen a Thorn Soul than it is the just like unconfirmed Kashin Koji, the theory of whether or not he has. It's more like a conspiracy theory. Whereas Code, I think it's way more likely, if not already basically just confirmed, just headcanon wise. It just makes sense. Unlike Koji.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I can agree with that because while I do love the theory that Koji has seen a Thorn Soul, I think the theory that Code has seen it is arguably more interesting and more likely because it's not like they've confirmed Koji's seen a Thorn Soul, but Code, it's like I know it's not confirmed either, but like it's practically confirmed when you think about it.
Exactly. So I think, assuming the hypothetical of if Kashin Koji has seen a Thorn Soul, it's possible that it would be, assuming he has, it's likely that it would be because he's, as we see, he's at Orochimaru's hideout. And Orochimaru's always getting into like the mysteries of the world and like seeing the windmill spin, and he's trying to mix all the colors. So I think hypothetically, if Koji's seen a Thorn Soul, it wouldn't be because of Boruto or the Shinju or future premonitions or fate or destiny or Ishiki or the Tin Tails or anything like that. I think it would be specifically because of Orochimaru, because we see a few chapters ago that he's in Orochimaru's lair.
And that's a good point because obviously that could be how he has his knowledge. And so, in terms of chicken or the egg, or egg or the chicken in this case, Orochimaru might be the egg who saw. That sounds so goofy, but I hope you understood what I was saying.
Yeah,
But I think Orochimaru.
well, I don't think it's chicken or the egg in this
is the egg.
case. I think it's chicken and the egg, more like it, because it would be both when you think about it. Addressing something you were saying earlier, though, Kamui, you were really quick to dismiss the idea that, assuming he's seen a Thorn Soul, that it wouldn't be Hidari's, it would have to be someone else, like hypothetically a Soegi Shinju. I don't think that's necessarily the case. In fact, I would think because he's recognizing it, it's likely, we were discussing this earlier, the possibility that all the Thorn Souls have a unique dojutsu. It's very likely that because it's coming specifically from Hidari, where it's not come from all the other Claw Grinds, that these Thorn Souls would themselves be unique, individually specific as well. So if he's recognizing the Thorn Soul based on sight, this means he would have had to have seen Hidari's Thorn Soul in the past. So I think, assuming he's seen it before, because he's acknowledging the fact that he knows it exists, he's talking about it, so he has knowledge about it, seemingly because the hypothetical of if he's seen it, this theory, then I think it's definitely likely that if it's the same thing, well then it would have to be Hidari's Thorn Soul, which means either, because again, you were really quick to dismiss this, it means either that he's already used it to free Sasuke, or he failed using it to free Sasuke, but he knows that he can. So I think it's equally likely that Sasuke could have been freed already by Kashin Koji, using Hidari's Thorn Soul. I don't know why you were so quick to dismiss that.
I definitely see what you're saying with this.
Yeah, it's like you're just throwing the possibility
I was more so dismissing was the freeing Sasuke. Now, I'm not saying that's impossible, but it's not implied that it happened twice to Sasuke. So I think he could have seen, let's just say prototype Hidari was formed because hypothetically Kashin Koji's seen the Thorn Soul, like the theory. Then he defeats him. And he sees the Thorn Soul, but then let's just say another evolved Claw Grind comes around, eats the Thorn Soul, and then turns back into Hidari and runs away or whatever. And, and then Koji doesn't get a chance to put it into Sasuke. Or maybe it doesn't eat it, but it brings it back to the lair. You get the idea. I think he probably freed someone else just because I feel like, maybe Boruto it'd be an implication that it's happened before. Granted, again, chicken or the egg, or egg or the chicken. In this case, I do think it's the chicken, and I don't think he's done it to Hidari before. That being said, if you think it is the egg or both, then yeah, he would have done it to Sasuke before.
Well, again, sticking with this, I feel like you're being really dismissive, which is why I don't think it's chicken or the egg. As you know, within college, they use the two structure sentences of the either or. So realistically, I think the best way of looking at it would be chicken, either the egg. But I think realistically, any way you look at it, chicken either the egg, chicken or the egg, chicken and the egg, I think either the egg is the most realistic. Well, chicken but the egg is a possibility. It's like the but. This is like almost coding. Like there's an if-then sentence. Like chicken then the egg. It's like a coding thing. So chicken
it's a
but
conjunction
the egg.
of some sort.
True.
And it does imply a contradiction because chicken and egg is a contradiction.
It does change it to a complex
egg
sentence. So we'd have to start thinking about it in a more complicated manner is the only problem. And we are simpletons.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more difficult for us. But Immortal, what do you think about that?
I mean, Immortal, between chicken and the egg, chicken or the egg or the chicken but the egg, and egg but the chicken, which would you say in terms of this Kashin
Well, don't
Koji
forget
situation?
chicken, then the egg. I feel like there's a couple you left off.
Oh,
there,
or a
but...
chicken with the egg as well. Oh my god, there's so many.
Egg,
then the
chicken.
Egg with the chicken.
So what do you think the relationship between the chicken and the egg
glaringly
is?
Stand out to you, Immortal?
Yeah, between the chicken and also the egg. What
There's
is
also
the
chicken.
relationship?
Oh shit, we forgot about chicken for the egg and egg for the chicken.
Yeah, possible.
So in terms of my theory about Kashin Koji discovering
in relation to the
Thorn
chicken,
or is it
also the egg possibility? How does that tie in? Do you think? Which
I would say both of them. Yeah, how does that tie into the theory?
In your opinion, how would you describe the chicken-egg relationship?
Yeah, the egg and chicken situation relative to the theory.
In relative to this theory, yeah.
Would you say that Kashin Koji's the chicken or the egg? To start. Well, let's go with those three.
I would say he's the egg.
Okay. So it's egg or the chicken. Got it. All right. Anyway.
Well, no. It's just saying that Kashin Koji is the egg, which implies that the Thorn Soul would be the chicken. So the question is, which came first, and what would be the relationship between
no, not necessarily, because what if both the Thorn Soul and Kashin Koji are the eggs, which would mean Koji has not yet blossomed into his full identity yet. So on the surface layer, we think he has, but maybe there's more to Koji that we've yet to witness.
Well, but because
more character growth yet to come, because he's still an egg and not yet a chicken.
No, Koji has to have
Just like a
blossomed
Thornsoul.
because he's the antithesis to the Shinju, which contain the Thorn Soul, which means.
What if he's not actually? What if it's actually Kurama, not Koji in this regard? And we were just wrong.
Wait, what?
Because after all, it's not like we had ever come up with the theory that Kashin Koji's seen a Thorn Soul bulb back when we were talking about that. I think this really changes the game.
Well, yeah, because he does have knowledge on it, so it is possible that he might have seen one in the past, but we still don't know for sure. But, like, just assuming he has, what do you think about this, Immortal? The chicken egg dynamic here. Realistically, we should name this the chicken egg dilemma. Well, no, he only said that Koji's an egg, but he hasn't elaborated on anything outside of that. So, assuming Koji's an egg,
True.
How would you expand on that, Immortal?
Well, okay, at first I only said he was an egg because I really didn't understand the
it's fine. It's fine. It might take too long to re-explain. I don't know.
Well, do you think
we can get back to your theory if you?
In terms of the egg, do you think it's incubated or do you think it's already hatched? In which case, what would even separate it from the chicken?
That's a fair question.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a chick in this case.
Exactly.
I mean, okay, let me answer that one because I kind of changed my mind about him being an egg.
Okay.
Kashin Koji kind of already knows who he is. And I think he's already blossomed, so he's pretty much a chicken.
I'd be fine with that, and I'd be fine with that because I would go back to the antithesis of Jorah thing we were talking about in the past.
Yeah.
Which,
but Jorah
if we're gonna go with this, okay, so in this case, is it because Koji is a chicken that's why he recognizes the egg? That would be the Thorn Soul. Because obviously, I would like to think a chicken would recognize its own eggs. Great, it's not Kashin Koji's egg, but it recognizes its own kind.
Would the Shinjus also be considered eggs?
Well,
would the Shinjus also be considered eggs?
Well, but
since they were born like a
no, but the Shinjus are.
I think they would be like chicks, like the chicks they hatched.
Chicks.
Well, no, but because chickens are animals and the Shinju are plants, so I don't think that analogy works at all.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I think it works as an analogy, just not a direct statement.
Well, maybe conceptually true, but not realistically. Unlike the Koji egg situation.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but granted, a Ten-Tails is also kind of like an animal, so I don't even know at this point.
Well, it's like a plant-animal hybrid in a weird way, especially considering if you consider like Kaguya was the divine tree.
Yeah, that's why it's weird. I'm not gonna lie, something that kind of just came to my mind a minute ago is because we were talking about like Kashin Koji and Amato and like their past, with the toes and shit. We won't get too far into that anyway. Just blah blah. Anyway, like we've talked about Amato smoking in the past, so I mean, do you guys think there's a possibility that Amato's secondhand smoke has affected Kashin Koji, and could that have any relevance to this theory of Kashin Koji seeing a Thorn Soul, like in any narrative capacity? Any.
This did just spark a memory. The other day, I was looking up like some scientific things, and like genetically modified eggs are a thing now. So like if you're a vegan, you can go get a vegan egg. So I think that's actually a really good compromise in regard to this. Both plant and animal.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
But what about the smoke thing?
Well, that's what sparked the memory. I'm not saying that directly ties into that necessarily, but it just made me think of that.
Okay.
Yeah. But Immortal, what do you think about the smoke thing?
Okay.
Or the vegan thing? Either way.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Because he's really gonna think about it. All right. Anyway, moving away from this theory.
I was gonna say, I've got to head out because I do not want to wake up very late tomorrow for work.
Okay, fair enough.
You're good.
Yeah.
We'll come back to your theory another time,
Did you have
especially in
any-
light of
Yeah.
chapter 13, if that expands upon it in any capacity.
Yeah, did you have any closing thoughts on the theory for now, though? Especially based on things that me and Kamui were saying at the end there, since I know you didn't really get to talk on that much.
No, not really.
I mean, coming back to Orochimaru for a quick second, though, yeah, I definitely like the idea of Orochimaru being a chicken in a sense too, because he creates eggs for like Mitsuki and stuff. So him relating to the Thorn Soul would be really cool. But
I mean,
anyway, yeah,
Immortal,
we'll
just
have you on again anyway, Immortal.
how likely do you think your theory is? Like, what percent do you think
Oh,
it
yeah,
is
good point.
that you think Koji has seen the Thorn Soul? How likely, percentage-wise? Or just
I
out
would
of 10?
say in a mid range of 50 to 80%.
Okay. I mean, as far as want goes, I'm straight 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In terms of like just will it happen likeliness, that's tough. Because I really want it to happen, but I can't just give it a 10 out of 10, obviously, because that's like unfair.
Well, you know,
But
Because
it's
I think
showing bias.
what I think is they could have it towards where there was a superior evolved Clawgrime, something like that. And
That's
that could have been
possible.
the Proto Shinju I was talking about. But
Yeah.
maybe its Soul Thorn isn't as strong. But
Well, we
Kashin
mean
Koji may have
specifically him
figured,
seeing a soul thorn. That's almost like a,
Mhm.
a part 2 to the question where we separate those two. 'Cause I feel like we should
Yeah.
separate the two questions. First,
Mhm.
likeliness of him seeing a soul thorn, and then secondarily, likeliness of whether it's the evolved claw gripe
Yeah.
route we talked about.
Well,
Because we were pretty
Immortal,
much on the same page with
Yeah.
that.
Immortal gave
Second
his
half.
percent 50 to 80. I'll give mine. I genuinely do not know. This does come across very conspiracy theory. Don't get me wrong, just like Kamui, I'm 10 out of 10 on wanting it to be the case, but I just don't know if it's the same as what he saw before. And so, because of that, I just genuinely don't know if this is the case. I don't even know. It's hard for me to give a percentage just because I just genuinely don't know if it's the same as what he saw before, basically. With that being the case, I guess I would go on the safer side and say there's only a 20% likelihood that Koji has
Yeah, you might
seen
have to go with the low end.
the Thorn Soul before. But what percentage would you say, Kamui?
I mean, definitely more than 0, but I mean, I feel like I really, I know I'm biasing my wants here when I say this number, but I'm trying to be realistic, which is what's
Yeah.
bringing it down to this low. But
Exactly.
I might go a little bit higher and say 40% because I just think it works so well. So 4 out of 10
Makes sense.
for him seeing the same. If for this Thorn still being the same as what he saw before, like I'll say 4 out of 10 because I just think it would be so good if that will actually was the case and not just a theory. But I can't let my bias take over too much.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm gonna bring it down to a 4.
It
just to keep myself
definitely-
grounded, but
Definitely
with 4.
works. Connects a few things, such as how he knows about them as he's talked about them. But I'm just not confident in the fact that he's seen it in particular.
Yeah, they're like the same thing. So
Yeah, as before.
yeah.
Mhm.
But anyway, Immortal, we won't hold you up all night.